Let's dive into Molly's training so we can stay consistent at home. So we have our training equipment here, and this is going to help us follow through with our commands. That way Molly understands our boundaries. So let's start with the remote collar. So the collar has a little red dot right here. This is a magnetic key to turn the collar on. The matching red dot for this key is on the remote itself. So if you look at the remote and you turn it to the side, you'll see a little red dot, and that is the magnetic key to turn the collar on. What we're going to do is touch the two red dots together, and you'll see a green light on the collar. That way you know the collar is on, charged, and ready to go. This green light will flash every few seconds to let you know that it is still on and charged. And then we have to turn the remote on separately. So with the remote, we are going to go to the back of the remote, and you'll see a big button in the middle, the on-off button. You're going to push and hold that until the screen lights up. Once the screen is on, you'll see the number 25. That is Molly's current level to correct unwanted behavior. So what we're going to do is we're going to correct unwanted behavior with the remote collar to decrease the rate of that unwanted behavior, and then we're going to use treats, praise, petting to reward the behaviors we want to continue to see to increase the rate of those behaviors. So we have the black S button here, and I'm going to pretend my hand is Molly. And let's go over some of her commands. So heel, when you give her the command heel, it means walk next to me on a loose leash. So on the left-hand side, that's where Molly needs to walk with her head about lined up with your leg. That way she's not walking too fast, and then it leads to pulling. So the leash has to be relaxed and loose. If she tries to walk too fast or go off in another direction or sniff, anything that's not walking on a loose leash next to you, you're going to push the black S button. You're going to say no, push the black S button, and then give her the heel command again. What you're doing is you're marking the incorrect behavior with the verbal no, you're following through with a correction on this remote collar with the black S button, and then you're giving her the heel command again so she understands what to do correctly. When she's walking next to you on a loose leash, good heel, and you can give her treats to reinforce that command. So it's always with whatever command you're giving her. If she doesn't follow the command, it's no, and then you give the command. So we have heel, which means walk next to me on a loose leash. Then we have sit. Sit means stay is implied until you tell her free, but you do want to give her reminders. So when you first ask her to sit, she needs to sit right then. If not, no, correction, give the sit command again. We also have the prong collar. So how to put the prong collar on, we're going to take one of the links apart. So how to do that is you stabilize one, and then you push the link down with your thumb, push it all the way through. Then to put it back together, you have to squeeze this prong and put it back together like that. So when she is wearing the prong collar and she has the leash on, we're going to use both the remote collar and the leash to guide her, because she learned everything on the leash first, remote collar second, so we layer them together. So with sit, for example, you ask her to sit. If she does it, no, pop and release, and use the remote collar. Depending on the situation, sometimes you just use one or the other. It just depends on the distraction level. More distractions, you're going to use both. Less distractions, you're going to use one or the other. So it's no, pop and release. You're going to attach the leash to what we call the D-ring because it has a flat side and it rotates. So you'll know which one to attach it to. Do not attach it to the circle one. So it's no, pop and release. So whenever I say tug and release the leash, that's what I mean, because again, going back to heel, the leash should be loose. If she tries to not be in the heel position anymore, you can give the leash a little tug and release. So then we have sit, stay is implied. So whenever you're going through a door, have her sit, open the door, then you can have her heel through the door with you. What you do is give her reminders when you want her to stay. So instead of saying stay, you would just remind her the verbal sit again. So have her sit, open the door, remind her sit, and then heel through the doorway together. Then we have down. Down means lay down and stay. It doesn't mean don't jump, that's just no. So whenever we give her the down command, we want her to lay all the way down and stay in that position. So we tell her down. If she does, great. If not, no, correction. The leash, when you tug the leash, instead of it being up or back, you would actually give a slight pop and release down. With the prong collar, it is just a slight flick of the wrist, pop and release. It's not anything pulling, it's just a little tug. So we tell her to lay down. Whenever we want her to stay, we just remind her down and then we move. Because if we just move, she'll assume to follow us because she's going to look at our body language versus just our words. So we want to make sure we tell her down to stay, then we walk away. So then when we want her to get up, the release command is free. So we always go back to her whenever she's in a stay, like place or down or place. And we're going to talk about place here in a second. We always go back to her, tell her she did a good job with praise, petting, treats, and then we tell her free. Free is the command of you don't have to be in that command anymore. So for example, when you're taking her on walks, it should be 90-10. So 90% of your heel walk should be in the heel position. 10% you can tell her free and she can sniff, explore, kind of be at the end of the leash but still not pulling the leash, and then go back to the heel for the rest of the walk because it's 90-10. And then to get her up from any sort of stay, it is free. So let's talk about place stay. Place is the boundary stay on an elevated bed. You tell her to go to place. You reward on the bed. That way she knows the bed is what produces the reward. The bed is the fun, positive place. So good place, reward when she does a good job. Obviously, if she doesn't, no place. So if she tries to get off of the boundary while a distraction is happening, let's say you're having people over and you put her on place and she wants to go say hi, no, correction, go to place. So she has to stay on the bed, and you have the leash on in the house to guide her back to the bed if needed for the first couple of times. That way she understands what your boundaries are in the home. So we have place, and then you have her stay. You reward every few minutes or so to let her know she's doing a good job. When you give a correction using the remote collar or the prong collar, whenever you say no and give a correction, you do not immediately follow with a reward. You have to wait a few seconds in between. That way she doesn't get confused and you're saying like, no, yes. You want to make sure she gets the correction, wait a little bit. Okay, you learned from your correction, you did a better job. Here's the reward. So when we're done with the place command, we're going to let her off. We go back to her because we want to not free from a distance. That will make her stay weaker. We want to make sure we go back to her good place, and then we tell her free to let her off of the bed. Then we have come when called. So come when called, she's free, she's sniffing, she's doing whatever. You don't put her in a sit and then back up and call her to you, because what you're doing is just not having a strong sit stay. You're just teaching her that, hey, come to me and you'll get a treat, versus staying in the sit. So we want her free sniffing around because that's more realistic if you were to have her exploring on a walk. So always practice with a leash on, of course, but have her free. Then you're going to call her to you. You're going to say, come, and you're going to reward the action of her running to you with praise. Once she gets to you, you're going to have her sit and give the physical treat. You want to make sure you reward this command over and over and over again to build a reward history. What a reward history is you reward a behavior to continue to see that behavior, and then in Molly's mind, it is a positive action to do, so she's going to offer that behavior more often. So you really want to build the reward history with all of these commands so she understands to do them with you at home. And then we have leave it. Oh, with come when called, if she doesn't come to you at first, no, correction, come. You have the leash if needed to reel her in, but that's just a safety net. So it's no, come, and then you still reward when she gets to you, because again, you're the good guy, the correction happened over there, you came to me, you still get a reward. It might just not be as big like a normal reward would be if she came to you the first time. Then we have leave it. Leave it means don't grab that off of the ground. So leave it in itself can just be the correction. Practice with dog safe foods at first. So you drop something like a hot dog on the ground, leave it, and you correct if she doesn't stop going for the treat right away. So if she still wants to go for it, leave it and give the correction. You can practice with a leash on at first, because in the home she might just assume, oh, things on the floor belong to me. You can also use this with the cat at home. So those are her commands. The primary functions that you're going to use, the on-off feature and the black S button. And then we're going to talk about all the other features of the remote collar at the end of the video. So just to recap, reward the behaviors you like to see to keep seeing them, correct the behaviors to decrease the rate of those behaviors, have fun, and now we're going to show you Molly's commands.
You have to get a long cord, a long plug-in thing in my bedroom. And then
Down. Good girl. Down. Good down. Good down. Good girl. Good down. Nope. Down. Free. Good job.
Yeah, boy.
She's a girl. Leave it. Good girl. Okay. Good job. Leave it. Good girl. Good, leave it. Nice job. Free, okay. Good girl. Oh, excuse you. Coughing up treats. Leave it. Okay. Good girl. Good job. Place. Good. Place. Good place. Good place. Good job. Good place. Place. Good place. Good job. Free. Good girl. Good. Oh, jeez. Calm down. Free. All right, so let's go over the rest of the features of Molly's remote collar. So we've turned it on. Now we're going to show you how to turn the collar off. So the same way with the collar itself, we're going to touch the two red dots. You'll see a red light. The red light means it's off and you don't have to worry about it anymore. With the remote, you do have to push the on-off button again, and you do have to push and hold it until the screen is blank. So it does take a few seconds, so I'm going to turn that back on. Turn this back on. So let's go over what the red S button means. That is the boost feature. This is for emergencies only. So if, let's say, you're practicing come when called with Molly and then she decides to take off towards the road and she's not listening to the regular correction, you are going to boost that. So you're going to increase it by 25. What this does is if she's in high drive of something, it is supposed to snap her out of it. We have not used this. We have not needed this yet for Molly, but you might need it in certain situations, and it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So it's red for emergencies only. Again, that is going to give her a big correction. You don't want to use that all the time because that's not fair. You want to make sure you only use it if you absolutely have to use it. Then on the other side, we have vibrate over here. What I like to do is when I turn the collar on first thing in the morning, I like to push the vibrate button just to make sure that I've turned the collar on. You're not going to use this a whole lot with Molly's training. You're going to really stick with the correction level over here, but this just helps make sure that we turn the collar on before we put it on Molly. So when you get Molly up in the morning, this goes on first thing in the morning. She gets her collar on. That way she's able to be communicated with. You can stay consistent and you can follow through. She can wear this 12 to 14 hours a day, take it off at night. Then we have the on-off button. Is also a flashlight. So instead of pushing and holding it to turn the remote off, you can tap, and it turns on the flashlight feature for Molly's remote collar, so you can see her at night, or you can have it on during night walks so you're more visible. Just tap it again to turn it off. So once to flash, 2 for a solid flashlight, 3 to turn it off. Then we have the M/C button in the back. That is to change the setting from momentary to continuous. What momentary is you push and hold the button and it only stimulates that one time. Continuous is where it would stimulate the entire time you're holding down the button. So we don't need that feature. Next we have the dial. This is going to change the intensity of the level. So right now 25 works well for Molly. This can always change in the future. This could be too much and you need to lower it. It could be not enough and you need to raise the level. So to do that, you need to unlock it. So you're going to push down and hold it until you see the 1D start to flash. Once the 1D is flashing, you can then turn the level to what desired level you need. Again, if 25 is too much, turn it down to 20 or 15. If 25 is not enough, you have 30 or 35. I wouldn't put it any higher than 35 without like asking what to do in the certain situation. So we'll turn it back down to 25. So you see the 1D flashing. We're going to push and hold the dial until the 1D is solid again. The 1D at the very top. So that's the dial. To go to the back again, this is rechargeable. It should last a couple of days on a charge. I would charge it every other day, and I would not leave it on the charger overnight because then you're going to eat up the battery. Same thing with the remote collar. The charging port is underneath here. This is waterproof, so make sure that this little tab is closed when you're done charging it because she can go swimming with this on. She can get wet. The key is, though, when she does go swimming after she's done, take the collar off. Make sure she is dried thoroughly. That way she doesn't get bacteria built up, and that will lead to a hot spot or a skin infection. Also, when she's wearing the collar, you want to put it somewhere underneath, but every couple of days, make sure you move the box so she doesn't get a collar sore right here from always wearing the collar right here. You want to be consistent with her wearing this, but you also want to make sure that her skin gets a break from the remote collar. So again, 12 to 14 hours a day, take it off at night. That way you can turn it off and charge it. And then in the box, we have her charger, which you can charge both the remote and the collar at the same time. We also have a little tool to take off the prongs. So like maybe it's right here. Maybe in the wintertime, if her hair gets a little bit thicker, you can adjust to the longer prongs that weave through the hair better. Just these little prongs are a little bit more extended. And then we have the instruction manual to go over all the buttons in greater detail, in case you want to do that. And that is it for the features of the remote collar. Again, you use this tool to stay consistent and follow through with your commands. That way you can really communicate what your boundaries are with Molly. So you want to stay consistent, have her wear this every day, always use her training equipment whenever you take her out places. That way she understands that training doesn't just happen in the home, it happens everywhere. That way you can follow through and again stay consistent, but don't forget to reward the behaviors you like to see to continue to see those behaviors. Build that reward history with you and doing the commands with you. Have fun, stay consistent, and let us know if you have any questions.